Hello, mysterious person behind the screen, and welcome to a new series of audio commentaries that I'm doing with Isaac.
Oh, muy, I love you.
Yeah, if you haven't guessed, if you haven't read the title of the video, it's Star Wars. We're starting commentaries on Star Wars, and we're starting with what is universally agreed to be the best one, the Phantom Menace. Um, so yeah, without further ado.
Agree. If you'd like to sync this up with your own copy of The Phantom Menace, we're watching the Blu-ray version. Put the film to the start and press play in three, two, one, go.
Yes, I should probably say before we start, because there's so many different versions of Star Wars, we're watching the 2019 versions of these films.
Yes.
The versions that were premiered on Disney Plus and then got put on Blu-ray and 4K and all that. The 2019 versions, because there's so many different versions, it's a bit of a challenge.
It is, yeah, it's most certainly a challenge. So I'm going to read the opening crawl in many different voices for each of the Star Wars films. And for this one, it's going to be comic book guy from The Simpsons. So here we are. Star Wars, Episode 1. The Phantom Menace. Turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems is in dispute. Having to resolve the matter with a blockade of deadly battleships, the greedy Trade Federation has stopped all shipping to the small planet of Naboo. While the Congress of the Republic endlessly debates the alarming chain of events, the Supreme Chancellor has secretly dispatched two Jedi Knights, the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, to settle the conflict. Worst conflict ever.
Bravo! That is kicked off these commentaries with a bang.
Yep.
Bravo. Okay. Wow. I mean, it sets the tone. And I mean that opening crawl in general.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so boring. Like, taxation, trade routes, what?
It's certainly like you look at the original trilogy and it's like rebel spies, plans, fighting, conflict,
Civil War,
civil
like,
war,
what?
and you get to this one and it's just taxation, trade routes, politics. It certainly makes a statement.
Yeah, it does.
And
Oh
I'm
God, I forgot how
yeah.
racist the Trade Federation people are.
We
It's
should
so
probably
bad.
get that out the way to start with. It's a little bit uncomfortable that the Trade Federation people are. Yeah, they speak like that.
They have squinty eyes. They talk like this,
Oh no.
and they're cowardly. They're greedy. They're head of a
Mm.
corporation. Like, oh,
I mean, by the same token, you could also apply that to the Tuscan Raiders, who are clearly
oh yeah.
cowboys and Indians, and it's best not to think about too much.
hmm Now, honestly, yeah, I just don't think this is. If you're gonna go all out and say this is episode one, I just don't think it gets new viewers on board immediately. Because you're probably asking so many questions like, what's the Trade Federation? What's the
Mm.
Republic?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's it's I don't know. It's fascinating because this was the first Star Wars film I watched. The first Star
Mm.
Wars thing I watched was the Clone Wars cartoon,
Ah.
and then off the back of that, I started watching the films just by chronological order. And I think at the time it was just for me being a kid was just flashy lights, robots, lightsabers, bright colors, and I just kind of enjoyed that.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, if it is kind of rough as an introduction because you're not there's no fish out of water character really. I mean, there wasn't like that in it anyway. But I mean,
There's
we were introduced to this universe in the original Star Wars, through the eyes of
yeah.
Luke and everything. There's nothing like that in the Phantom Menace. I guess you could say Anakin, but even then we don't meet him until about 50 minutes into the film, right?
half an yeah, like yeah, it amazes me how for Phantom Menace there's no clear main character. I mean,
Mm.
who got top billing? Was it Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson, yeah, he was. I think he's kind of
So
universally agreed
yeah,
to be the main character, but it. I mean, I don't know. It's just odd. It is odd.
yeah. I mean, my first experience with Star Wars was watching Revenge of the Sith because
Oh, nice.
a friend of mine at the time got it for me on DVD for my birthday. I didn't know what it was, but
Yeah,
as you said, it was just flashy, colourful things, and that's all I
yeah,
wanted when I was 8, I think. Yeah,
and it is
and
interesting.
then I watched the original trilogy because I got those for Christmas one year. They were
Mm.
fun to watch, and then I caught Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. They were on ITV, like on a Sunday afternoon,
Yes,
and
yeah.
yeah, that filled in the gaps for me.
That's where I first watched this was ITV on
Yeah.
TV, and then I remember I got trilogy box sets of the two trilogies, and I
Hmm.
still have them actually. They're pretty cool. And that's how I just experienced the films really. But yeah, it's an odd one. I mean, it's interesting to see how like perception of the prequels has really changed over time compared to what it was.
Yeah.
They're really held up now, really highly. And I remember like being on the internet back in 2013, 2014, and everyone was going on about
Oh
how,
yeah.
oh, the sequels are coming and they're going to save Star Wars and they're going to learn from the mistakes of the
Uh,
prequels. And now
I know.
fast
Yeah.
forward 7 years, and that whole thing is basically reversed. It's really interesting to think about.
Yeah. It is weird. I mean, it's great that the prequels do have fans,
Yeah,
and it's just yeah, it amazes me how many people double tracked and said, "Oh,
yeah,
I hate the prequels. I can't wait for the sequels to come out." Oh wait, I don't like the sequels. Oh, the prequels were understood masterpieces. Honestly, I think Sam Gavin put it best when he made that video about Dave Filoni and the Phantom Menace.
yes,
Like,
yeah,
honest, I mean, it kind of irritates me when I see some of those videos that say, "New theory: Palpatine was sucking the life force out of Padme to keep Anakin alive. Fact: this happens in the film." No, it
yeah,
doesn't. Just because you
exactly.
made that up, it doesn't make the film better.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
Uh,
I'm not like I like these prequels well, and I can watch them like happily. Like I can chuck one on and
mhm.
just and watch it happily. It's not like I have problems with them. Obviously, I think everyone does, but it's not like I'm offended by them. I can happily sit there and watch them. But I
Yeah, I'm
think
not
a lot of that is kind of nostalgia as well, because I grew up on them. You know, I watched them as part of the original trilogy as well. There's no
Yeah,
difference for
true.
me
I
there.
mean, we weren't, queuing outside
Yeah,
cinemas for 6 days to see this come out. I've seen the premiere footage from all those fans, and I'm just like, oh wow, because they're all like, it'll be a great
yeah,
part of it'll be a great series of 6 films from now, and in 20 years, there is no way this can be a bad movie.
yeah. And you've got like footage of that guy getting his ticket ripped and like grabbing the ticket and like going down on his hands and knees and like and like praying and then running into the cinema and stuff. It's just like, oh my god, this is insane.
Yeah.
It made an impact.
I'd say, yeah, because I'd say in that regard, it is quite an important film because of that, because it shows the power of hype,
Oh
and
yeah.
especially with the internet and all those fan theories, and because we've got so many franchises that are aimed at pop culture and aimed
Mm.
at more mainstream audiences and blockbusters. Yeah, it kind of set a trend for people being disappointed by big blockbusters.
It really did. Yeah, and I mean, there's even a term for that now, phantom menacing, when you watch a
It is,
film
yeah.
and you convince yourself that it was good, even though it wasn't. And it's yeah, I that happened to me with Batman v Superman. I watched that and I was like, yeah, it wasn't too
Same
bad,
here.
wasn't too bad. Fast forward to now and I hate it, but yeah, it's made a cultural impact all on its own.
It has, yeah. But yeah, the prequels, they're not the worst things.
Yeah.
ever made. I just think they're not very good compared to the original trilogy, and you know, just as I grew older, the prequels just got boring to me, whereas the original trilogy just got better.
Yeah. I completely get. And I mean, as a kid, and this is going to be absolutely sacrilege to some people. As a kid, I honestly preferred the prequels, because I just enjoyed, like I said earlier, the bright colors, the spectacle of it. I preferred sticking those on as a kid, and then as you get older, you realize the weaknesses of them and the strengths of them, and everything sort of becomes more balanced in your brain, really. But I certainly, there are people
Yeah,
who describe this as like the worst film ever made, and Attack of the Clones as well, and it's just like there are far worse than this.
yeah.
These are
Honestly, I've seen
yeah.
far worse.
Oh, same here. There's and it's the same with Batman and Robin as well. It's that effect where people are like it's the worst thing ever known to man. It's like no, these films are big spectacles, and the CGI work in them was revolutionary, and the production design and everything. It's they have a lot of merit. They're far from the worst thing ever made. It's really the script that lets them
Hmm.
down.
Yeah, it's just the script and the direction
Mm,
because um, the actors. I mean, they're not bad actors because obviously they've acted in other things before and really well. It's just they're just really flat and they all sound the same. They all just sound really monotone.
yeah. Well, I mean, have you heard you've probably heard the direction that George Lucas gave Peter Serafinowicz when he was doing
Yeah,
the voice of Darth Maul. George Lucas apparently just went, make him
yeah, I've heard
sound
that.
evil. It's just that's the only direction he was given. It's like oh that's and there are stories
Now there is a
from Harrison Ford that where it's like George is not an actor's director. He will just say, oh, just do it faster and more intense, and sometimes you can't do that.
yeah, because yeah, you two. There are two types of directors, in my opinion. There are ones who tell you, what they want to come on screen from you, and there are some who just say, "Oh, get on with it. Just do what you want, really.
Yeah,
Obviously, stick to the script, but just say it how you want. I'm not gonna mind."
yeah.
Yeah, I've Jar Jar
Here he
Binks.
is, Jar Jar Binks. Ah,
The problem I have with his character is that he's never gonna be a sympathetic character because being he keeps succeeding by being an idiot. What kind of a lesson's
yeah.
that?
Jar Jar's the key to all this. um, and I mean, I'm looking at this now, and Jar Jar's CGI is not holding up very well at all.
No,
Just
particularly when he was just running there, just like, oh
yeah,
God, it looked
it's
like a real test.
and it's almost sad because if you watch all the documentaries, they go on about how this CGI is so revolutionary, and it was at the time. It was massive.
Mm,
The fact that there was this whole character in this film that's completely CGI and stuff, but then you watch it now, and it's just it's really dated.
yeah, there's a cut of Phantom Menace that cuts out all his dialogue and it just replaces him with alien sound. So
Yeah,
kind of like Chewie, basically. It's just him going.
yeah, I've heard about that. There's also a fan edit of the prequels, like done by Topher Grace, isn't there, where it edits them
There
all
is,
into
yeah.
one film, and
Hmm.
completely cuts out the Phantom Menace apart from the end.
Yeah, because that's kind of the problem with Phantom Menace. It doesn't. Honestly, I think you could cut the first two films, start with Revenge of the Sith, and know everything.
Yeah, you could absolutely,
Yeah, because
yeah,
honestly, they just don't. I just don't think these films add anything. Because if you're going to do a prequel, they have to be character driven and they can't just rely solely on the plot. Because
mm,
if you're familiar with the original trilogy, you know how it's going to end. So
exactly,
you need to be invested in the character's journey. And unfortunately for me, at least, I'm just not for the most part.
exactly. Yeah, that's it. And I will say, like for years, I was a defender of the prequels. I was really like, nah, they
Mm,
are, they're good. They're decent stuff. I was acknowledging the flaws of them. I wasn't like saying that they're masterpieces or anything, but I was defending them. But since the Clone Wars wrapped up last year, and we got the last season of that, and me catching up on the Clone Wars that I missed and stuff, that show has ruined the prequels for me. Because that show does such a
yeah.
better job of Anakin's character. It does a better job of setting certain things up. for the original trilogy, and it's ruined them for me a little bit, to be honest. Even though, like
Yeah, it
I
just
said earlier,
amazes me.
yeah,
Yeah, for me, it fixes all the problems I have with the prequels because in well, in episodes 2 and 3, of course, because that's when Anakin and Obi-Wan are, Jedi partners.
yeah, of course,
Um, yeah, they. I just don't get that sense of friendship between them because all they do is seem to argue. Whereas in Clone Wars, you get that when Obi-Wan's describing Anakin in A New Hope, he says he was the best star pilot in the galaxy and a good friend. I
yeah.
just don't get that when watching the prequels, but I get that when watching Clone Wars.
Exactly. Yeah, and going on adventures with the Jedi and individual episodes about them, you get a sense of one's character. So like even ones in the
Hmm.
background in the prequels, you get episodes devoted to them and stuff, and it makes the events of the prequels all the more tragic. But it's
Yeah.
just a shame that because that show is so good, and then you go to the prequels where perhaps the dialogue is lacking and the performances are lacking, and it just it puts things into perspective a little bit.
Hmm. Now I know Ewan McGregor. He kept, I think during this film when he was, doing the lightsaber scenes, he kept adding noises like zoom,
Yeah,
zoom, zoom.
yeah,
And I don't blame him. It's like when you pick up a prop gun and they say, right, you shoot it, it's going to fire lasers. So naturally you go pew 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 pew.
yeah. Exactly. And you can see, we'll get onto it obviously in many weeks time, but in the Last Jedi, you can see Laura Dern as Holdo does that when she fires the gun, and it's in the film. You can see her going pew. um, and yeah, why wouldn't you? Which I guess
Oh yeah,
brings me on to, have you seen the documentary that accompanies this, the big hour long?
yeah. The beginning, I've seen it. It's really good. In
It's
fact, it's the reason I went out and repurchased the first 6 films on these new Blu-rays by Disney because the original, well, not the original, the 2011 Blu-ray box set, the complete saga,
mm,
it took all the documentaries away from the prequels, and
yeah,
I've
it
no
did.
idea why because they were great.
Yeah, and these, I mean, going off on a tangent, but these new slip covers are really good. They're really comprehensive. They don't have everything, but they've got most of the stuff that was released. And that beginning documentary is just one of the
Hmm.
absolute best documentaries I've ever seen for a film, because it's
It
just
is,
there's
yeah, it's
nothing
great.
held back. Like that
Hmm.
infamous clip of him watching a rough cut of the Phantom Menace and going, I think I may have gone too far in a few places. It's just like,
Yep.
oh
Um,
wow, it's really fascinating. What's interesting as well, if you look at the prequels, is the the continuity errors with Ewan McGregor's hair and beard. Um,
oh
in
yeah.
this
Hmm.
film, his hair goes from like short to long at a moment's notice, and in the other two,
It does.
his beard goes from short to long at a moment's notice. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think all this stuff still holds up quite well. The fish and everything, and the monster in the sea, and so I think all that looks quite good still.
Yeah, it does look better than I remember it, but it might be because of this new HD transfer. That
Well,
might be
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, they're mastered in 4K, aren't they? And it's that's the problem with this film.
Yeah.
It's shot on film, so it should look. You should be able to like get super high resolution out of this, but it
Hmm.
it it it's it looks really fake and
Yeah, because
digital.
with it does because with this film and the original trilogy, I can tell differences from the 2011
Yes, yeah.
releases, but with Clones and Sith, I can't. But is that because they were shot on digital?
Yeah, there is a difference. The framing is slightly different, but that's literally it because they were
Mm.
shot on 2K cameras. So
Ah,
when they
okay.
made all these new 4K masters for Disney Plus and obviously the Blu-rays we're watching, there was just there's no you're never going to get much benefit, really, which is a shame, because it's interesting that those two films in particular were, like, at the time, the fact that they were shooting on digital was like this huge revolutionary thing, and was just like, this is the top tier, like, pinnacle of filmmaking. And now those are the ones that are most hampered by restorations and such in the future. It's yeah.
Now, one of my old lecturers and teachers at university used to teach Ewan McGregor at drama school.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah,
I mean, I think Ewan McGregor is, like, universally considered to be the best thing about these. He is
definitely,
wonderful.
yeah. Yeah, he's a perfect choice for young Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he's coming back for is it TV series, something like that?
Oh, the Disney Plus. Yeah, no, he's coming back for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, if it ever comes out, because that's initially that was announced to be a film, and then it got changed to a TV series, and now it's been announced Hayden Christensen's in it as Darth Vader.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do that.
Well, yeah,
So
because he's in a suit of armor.
are they gonna Yeah, are they gonna electronically treat his voice like they do with James Earl Jones? Because it might not sound the same.
Well,
It probably won't.
And if so, it's like that's going to be a bit jarring if you want this TV series to fit in with the canon, to have Darth Vader have a completely different voice, unless it's like flashbacks.
Well, there's a scene there's a scene in Star Wars Rebels where Ahsoka and Darth Vader meet, and I think she cuts his helmet, and you can hear like a mix of James Earl Jones's voice and Matt Latner's voice, and it's actually quite effective.
Yeah, they in the Have you seen the last season of the Clone Wars?
I have, yeah.
You have, yeah. Because in the final episode of that, they intercut between Hayden Christensen's voice in the little flashbacks and Matt Lanter's voice,
yeah.
and they're just they make notes and they blend them really well. It's just like it's cool.
And I suppose what the Phantom Menace has over the other two prequels is that it's the most practical, because obviously there's still CGI in it, but for the most part they actually film on real locations and real sets, not in front of blue and green screens.
It's the one that looks the most like a film out of all of them. It looks the most like a film and not a video game.
Yeah, it irritates me so much when George Lucas said, "Oh, I couldn't tell the prequels immediately after I made the original trilogy because I needed technology to catch up." Look, you made an entire trilogy without any of all that technology, so no.
Well,
special effects don't write the script; it's the writing.
Yeah. But to be fair, he made an entire trilogy that he then later decided multiple times that he wasn't happy with.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing entirely, which I'm sure we'll get onto when we get onto the original trilogy and all the changes. But it's just like, how far do you stop? Like, what technology do you need to? It's just weird. It's just really odd, and especially when you have like prolonged scenes of Jar Jar stepping in shit and all that stuff. It's like, well, you really needed the technology to have an alien step in some shit. You really need
the money to show Jar Jar Binks stepping in shit. Oh, icky goo.
Oh. And I mean,
Jar Jar Binks is like when you work in a group at school or university. There's that one person who does nothing and acts like a prick, and then gets a first or an A star at the end of it.
And I guess every time we make a criticism about Jar Jar's character, I guess we should point out that nothing against Ahmed Best at all, because he put up so much shit. Like, he has talked publicly about how his suicide attempt off the back of this and stuff. It's just like,
that's horrible. I didn't like. It's what people need to learn. Just because you don't like the character, it doesn't give you the right to harass the actor.
Yeah, exactly. Same with Jake Lloyd later on, who I guess Jake Lloyd's life was pretty much ruined by this.
Yeah, didn't I've heard a story that he was about to lose his virginity to a girl, but then she found out who he was and left him.
Yeah, she just
Like,
up and left.
oh, no.
Jeez. She just like, oh, you're the kid from Star Wars. I'm gonna up and leave now. Jesus, that's so. And I think he's in like some asylum somewhere now. He's in some kind of mental hospital
I
because
think he suffers from schizophrenia.
He's
poor
schizophrenic,
guy.
yeah. And he just and that's the thing about that documentary. It's really haunting to watch because you look at you look at that footage of like his agents and everything, and they're all watching him sign this contract, and they've all got massive smiles on their faces, and it's just like, Jesus, that's the contract that would have ruined his life.
They're so happy for him.
Yeah,
but it just wasn't to be.
I've just noticed.
I mean, I've looked at the.
Yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say I've looked at the auditions because it's on the documentary for all the kids who went for Anakin, and to be honest, I don't think any of them were that good.
No, there's that.
I mean, I might have. I probably would have chosen another kid who went for it over Jake Lloyd, but yeah, I just don't think any of them were too good, to be honest.
No, same. I mean, that there's that one kid who just has no expression on his face. And I remember watching that for the first time and being really creeped out because it's just like he looks dead inside. But yeah, no, I just noticed there's no reflections on those chrome ships. Then in that battle, there was no reflections of any laser blasts or droids or anything. That was really jarring. And
yeah, if that was Pixar, they would have gone to excruciating detail.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
To put reflections in, yeah. I just realised this is the first appearance of R2-D2.
Yes, chronologically the first appearance of R2, and it's like, yeah. So I guess it's a cool way of introducing him, but it feels very much like, oh, here we go. Have a checklist of things you remember from the original trilogy. Oh, there's R2. Yeah. There's lightsabers. There's 3PO later on. Ralph Bryan.
If we can't get the shield generator fixed, we're sitting ducks. But you're sitting ducks already. They are going to shoot you no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. They're going in the. It's that thing from The Empire Strikes Back as well, isn't it? When they leave the planet, but they fly directly towards where all the Imperials are. And I've always just thought, why not fly around?
They can't block the entire planet.
But yeah, here's Ralph Bryan as this pilot guy who many people know him from Alien 3 and With Nail and I. This film's kind of full of like great British actors. Hugh Corshey he's not British, is he?
Yeah.
But fair enough. It's Hugh Corshey. He was in Holby City for years, wasn't he? Hugh Corshey, and
he was
Doctor Who, of course.
Oh wait, who did he play? Did he play
Solomon in the Daleks in Manhattan?
That's it. Yeah, I thought I recognised.
And he looks exactly the same in that as he does in this. He doesn't age.
He does, yeah. Now I just realised in the original trilogy, I don't think they ever say the word Sith. It's always the dark side.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas this reveals that that's the proper name for it, being called a Sith, and yeah.
But I think Sith, like, there's this whole thing where I think this term Sith was like first used in a novel in the 80s, I think, or like early 90s.
Oh, right, okay.
So it was actually first introduced in like the EU stuff, but it's yeah. It's that Boba Fett thing where Boba Fett was introduced in the holiday special before he was actually introduced in the films. And we just had one of those scenes that you now can't watch without context of the memes. We've just had this is getting out of hand. No, there are two of them, which is I always forget Keira Knightley's in this. Keira Knightley,
that's
as
true.
the
Yeah,
decoy,
she's the decoy. Yeah,
whose name is misspelt in the credits, embarrassingly.
Oh, that's a shame.
I'm surprised they've never
fixed
that.
I know Natalie Portman. She couldn't go to the premiere because she was doing her exams.
Yeah, she was. I think she was like 15 when she was in this, right? 14, 15. She was really young.
Yeah,
she was very young.
It amazes me how young she is, because particularly on the Tatooine scenes when she takes her hood off, she looks slightly older than 15. I wouldn't have guessed she was.
Yeah, yeah. She was and I mean, she's I don't. She's not bad in this. I think it's it's the other two where she's a bit dodgy. I think she's okay.
The problem I
in
have
this.
with Yes, the problem with Padme in episode 2 and 3 is that she's just a walking plot convenience, and
Yeah,
we'll get to those when we do get to that, but yeah, the plot needs her to fall in love with Anakin, it happens. Oh, the plot needs her to feel betrayed by Anakin, so it just happens
yeah.
despite bending over backwards to get there. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there.
Oh, I mean, that's the thing, that the other two kind of reduce her to being just the love interest. In this, she has a bit more agency to her, despite the fact that when she's playing the Queen, she talks in a really posh, monotone, dull voice for some reason, which I never understood. I don't know why.
Yeah, and and I don't know why, but it irritates me when they give Anakin, his nickname, Annie.
Yeah,
Ugh.
Annie.
It's like so stupid.
Yeah. Did you watching this as a kid? Did you ever pick up on the whole decoy thing? The fact that it wasn't, because
Not really.
as a kid I was just like, it really went over my head, and I just remember thinking at the time, like the big reveal at the end where it's like, oh, she's my decoy. I was just like, wait, what?
You know what?
Really
I'm actually gonna say it. It's about as great a quote unquote plot twist as Rey Palpatine.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that.
We will get to that. I really like the sequels, apart from the third one. We'll get there. We will get there. But and here we have Mos Eisley. Yeah.
Is it Mos Eisley or is it a different Moss?
Oh, it's
from what I've heard.
It's probably not Mos Eisley. It's Moss something. It's Tatooine. It's a space. But I mean, yeah. The special editions of the first three were now. It's come out that they were done as a test for this. That whole purpose for existing was just a test, which seems so weird to me. That you're going to make these edits to these classic films that will forever be in the films now. There's no option of viewing them without them.
Yeah, those.
And you just
those lizards
tests.
walking. Yeah, those lizards walking by because you see stormtroopers riding on them.
Yeah.
I think they're called Morax.
Yes, they are. Yeah, and the Womp Rats that are running around are just the models from the special editions. It's just like, why is. Really,
oh
just...
God, Watto, he's such an awful stereotype.
He really is. He really
I love
is.
money. Funnily enough, Andy Secombe, who voices him, he said he based his performance on Alec Guinness as Fagin from Oliver Twist. So,
oh, interesting.
And honestly, I've seen Alec Guinness play Fagin, and yeah, he's really good in that, and you can definitely see why.
Now, I did like, I do always like it in Star Wars when we see like junk shops and things, because more often than not they'll shove in like either props from our worlds that when you notice them is like, oh, that's kind of cute, or there'll be like references to other droids. I'm thinking of like the Rise of Skywalker, where there are battle droid heads in that junk shop and everything, and it's always got. And in this later on, when we see 3PO, you see those little do you remember those ball games that you used to have in primary school, where they had like the scoops, the plastic scoops that you'd pick up balls with? Loads of those are hanging behind C-3PO, and it's just like, wow, it's kind of cool. And I don't blame Jake Lloyd for any of this at all, because
he didn't write Anakin's dialogue.
Yeah.
And particularly for Hayden Christensen in the next two films, I don't even think Laurence Olivier could make that dialogue sound natural.
No, not at all.
Or Marlon Brando.
Yeah, not at all. It's and he was just a kid.
An angel. Yeah, he is just a kid.
He's just a kid. He's not. He's doing what he's told to do, and it's just sad because he was only like 9 or 10. It's just also the pit droid kicked Jar Jar in the balls there, and I remember noticing that for the first time.
Listen, have a boomer.
Listen, have a boomer. Oh God.
Now, the unusual suspect pointed this out, but this, you know,
Oh yeah.
the whole thing with the hyperdrive, it doesn't make any sense. Just, steal it, explain the situation to Watto, have the Senate, pay him off when they come to Coruscant,
Yeah.
call for help, or hire hire a pilot to take you off Tatooine.
There's
I
a
mean,
million ways around this.
Yeah, getting a boy you hardly know to win it for you in a pod race, that should be Plan Z.
Yes, exactly. And I'll tell you what, there's this whole section of the film on Tatooine feels like to me. It feels like when you're playing a video game and you're going towards the main mission, the main quest, and you keep getting distracted by side quests, and you're like, oh, I'll go do this, I'll go do this, I'll go do this. And then 4 hours later, you've realised that mission that was going to take you 5 minutes has just taken you 4 hours because you've gone on so many detours. That's what this feels like to me. It just feels like one big detour, like that. This just swings around, like so many hoops that you have to jump through to get to the main plot on Coruscant. And yeah, it's odd because it doesn't feel like a big first chapter in a saga. It just feels like kind of like a day in the life of some Jedi.
It kind of does, yeah. Almost like an episode of Clone Wars, which is very much. Sometimes they can be a day in the life of a Jedi.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you get like I'm thinking of that one weird episode in one of the later seasons where it's literally just the droids wandering around a desert for 20 minutes.
There's an episode where 3PO and R2 they hop from planet to planet for something. I can't remember what for.
Yeah, and there's that really like dramatic scene where they think they're gonna die, and they sit under a tree and they start saying goodbye to each other, and it's like, what the hell? Where did this come from? Sebulba's a cool design, to be fair. He
walks on
cool.
his hands. That's quite cool. Yeah,
it's quite unique. And I mean, these prequels are kind of filled with cool character designs and everything. It's and Sebulba just says McClunky, which is the infamous change that Disney Plus made to Episode 4, making Greedo say McClunky.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But Sebulba just said it. He just went McClunky.
Now, didn't Liam Neeson accept the role without reading the script?
Yes.
I've heard.
Yeah, there's an infamous interview. It's like on in a magazine around the time where it was like Liam Neeson was so eager to be a part of the film that he took the role without reading a single word of George Lucas's script, and it's like, wonder if he regretted that. There's a funny story at the premiere. Apparently, Liam Neeson wasn't aware that Ian McDiarmid was playing both Chancellor Palpatine and Darth Sidious. And apparently the film ended at the premiere, and he came up to Ian McDiarmid and went, "Ian, it was you bastard." it's just like... And fair play, like... Yeah, go on.
You hear him in... I'm sure you hear him in Attack of the Clones, because when Anakin's killing the Sand People, you hear him say, "Anakin, no!"
Anakin.
But I don't think you hear him in Revenge of the Sith, which, I mean, he's mentioned, and I hope the TV series, whatever happens with that, of Kenobi does touch upon that, because I think it'd be great if Kenobi and Qui-Gon had a conversation. Qui-Gon taught him, how to become a ghost in the afterlife or whatever.
Yeah, I always thought it was a shame
they lament on their failures.
Yeah, for sure. I always thought it was a shame that he never turned up in Episode 3 to like round off the trilogy, to bring it back to the trilogy's roots in a way. I always thought it was, and I mean, it's cool that he's in the Clone Wars, and because he does pop up every now and then in the Clone Wars. There's a little voice cameo, and I'm pretty sure he's one of the voices in the Rise of Skywalker as well. Towards the end of that,
he is.
So it's cool that he's returned to the role a few times.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Those voices in The Rise of Skywalker, I only started to recognize them when I saw a fan edit on YouTube that actually
Yeah.
puts in footage of who's speaking. I'm like, oh, that's who that was.
No, at the time it was I was like, what am I hearing? And then I heard Ahsoka's voice, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I get it now. I get it.
Now, I'm curious. Is that a puppet of 3PO? Because it can't be a suit because it's way too thin for Anthony Daniels to go inside that.
Yeah, I believe it's two men in blue suits on either side of him,
Ah,
puppeteering
that
him,
makes
and
sense.
actually you could
Yeah.
see then, uh, blue reflections on his arms,
Ah,
which yeah was a bit of a giveaway, but yeah, I believe that's how they did it because I've always wondered that for years. It's like if that's an animatronic, that's an insanely advanced animatronic. But yeah,
yeah. hmm Yeah, because I thought it was a bit like Chameleon from Doctor Who, a real robot. But I thought, 1999, even today, the technology's pretty naff for
yeah,
that.
it's
So,
pushing it
so
a
I doubt
bit.
they would have had it for 1999. Now, of course, the voice of Darth Maul is Pete from Shaun of the
Yeah.
Dead. I
Good
want
old
him
Peter
to go up to
Serafinowicz.
Yeah, I want him to go up to Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and say, "Sort your fucking life out, mate.
I've seen it.
I've got a splitting headache, and the stupid Jedi aren't helping,
I
and the council chamber door is open again."
I have seen a fan edit where when Darth Maul dies at the end when he gets cut in half, someone's spliced in the clip of him from Spaced where he goes,
Oh God.
you shot me in the bollocks, Tim."
Well, I know Spaced. I've not seen the full series, but I've seen a few clips, and
Mm.
yeah, it's Simon Pegg's character. He's in what, a comic book shop, and he says to a kid who's buying a Jar Jar
Yes.
action figure,
Yeah.
and says, "I don't care about your stupid Jar Jar. You weren't there in the beginning. You ruined everything. Now
Yeah.
get out!"
Oh yeah, there's a few references in Space to Phantom Menace. I think
hmm
it was because in the second series of Spaced was after this came out. I think the first
Yeah.
series was before, and like a running
hmm
theme in the second series is that Simon Pegg's trying to get over. It's like a bad breakup for him. He's trying to
hmm
get over his divorce from George Lucas
Ah.
after his disappointment over this film. I definitely recommend Space. It's kind of like the fourth Cornetto film in a way. There's Edgar Wright and everything. It's yeah, it's really good.
No one can kill a Jedi, apart from me, who's going to kill them all
Yeah.
20 years down the line.
No one can kill a Jedi. I wish that was so. Oh well, he's gonna die then.
Yeah. And it's funny regarding the Jedi in these prequels because, in the original trilogy, Obi-Wan describes them as being, guardians of peace and justice, but
Mm,
we don't ever see that in the prequels. We just see them sitting around and letting other people do the work.
yeah, and I mean, I
Yeah.
thought for the longest time that was going to play into the Rise of Skywalker because in the Last Jedi they talk about how it was the hubris and the vanity of the Jedi that led to their downfall. I really thought that the Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker was going to go the place of like we need to set up a council, an organization of grey Jedi, of ones that aren't so
Mm.
filled with hubris that they're doing the right thing, and ones that aren't Sith and everything. I thought that was where they were going because it would be a natural payoff to seeds from this about how the Jedi Council are kind of foolish dickheads who are just convinced that they're always in the right.
hmm
But they didn't go that route, and they
Yeah.
definitely play into that in the Clone Wars
hmm
as well with Ahsoka leaving and everything. It's yeah, it seems like an obvious route to go down.
Yeah, and yeah, because in The Last Jedi, there's the line where they say, yeah, last time they were at the height of their powers, they allowed the Dark Lord of the Sith to take over and create the Galactic
Yeah,
Empire. So, yeah, it kind of made that line actually made me appreciate the prequels more because I thought, these Jedi, they don't really do anything, do they? They
yeah,
only seem to help people when it's the Jedi who are in trouble. Like in Attack of the Clones, they send what, 200 Jedi to go help Obi-Wan,
yeah.
but they're they're not going to end slavery on Tatooine.
Well, that's it. It's really the prequels are about the Jedi being so consumed with hubris and vanity, and they're always convinced that they're doing the right thing, even when they're not. That leads to their downfall.
Yeah, because I think in episode 2, Yoda says to Dooku, "The dark side I sense in you,"
Yeah.
and that's kind of rich when they talk to Palpatine several times, who's the Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yeah. And
they can't sense it in him.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing of like in season 7 of the Clone Wars, you meet the sisters who were in a tragedy when they were younger, and a Jedi came up to them and just said, "Oh, it's okay. The Force is with you. The Force made it so." And it's just like it shines a light on how foolish that sentiment is, because she's just telling these two kids that the Force made it so that your family would be in tragedy. The Force made it so. It's such a shallow concept, hollow concept. God, the beard on Watto looks really weird.
Yeah, he does. Have you seen Weird Al Yankovic's The Saga Begins?
I have, yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that sums up this film really well.
Yeah, it really does. You could just watch that if you didn't want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's 5 minutes long, and it just sums up the film perfectly. So
it's a great song.
Just
as
go
well.
watch that. You don't have to watch this film. Also, in the beginning documentary, Lucas keeps saying, "We're never gonna beat Titanic."
Yes, yeah. That's always amused me. It's just like, and it's funny. It's funny that everyone was just so willing to let just George Lucas do what he wants. It's just
true.
And in a way, I appreciate that these films are so purely just this is just George Lucas given free reign. Whatever he wants to do, they'll do it. In a way, I kind of like appreciate these films on that level, because it is just the man like completely unrestrained by technology, unrestrained by anyone. Yeah.
And I'll say this about what's she called? Penilla August? Is that her name?
Penilla August, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think her and Jake Lloyd, they have really good chemistry, because I actually buy that they're mother and son.
Yeah, me too. I think she's really good
when they
this.
say goodbye.
Yeah, I think she's really good in this. She puts in a really good performance, and I'd say she puts in a good performance in the second one as well. As she's only in it for a bit, but still.
Yeah, and of course, the whole Jesus symbolism. A virgin birth, there was no father.
Yeah.
Also, they're in a sandy location, like where Jesus was born.
Oh god, it does kind of fall apart a little bit. That whole metaphor, though, when you realise that it was Palpatine that planted that seed, if you will. And it's just like that'd be like if the devil made God's son. It's really weird when you think about it. Also, this
now that
Warwick Davis.
I was just gonna say, it is Warwick Davis in that alien suit. I like to think that's Baby Greedo.
Baby Greedo, yeah.
Hope.
Also, we're approaching one of the only shots in this film of Jar Jar that isn't CGI. When his arm goes into the pod racer, it's clearly it's actually someone's real arm.
He was on set, wasn't he, as a reference, Ahmed Best, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had the suit and he had his arms painted and everything. But he was wearing like a Jar Jar hat, basically, a hat that had his eyes on. So the actors knew where to look.
That's it.
But apart from that, he was like fully like digitally replaced and everything, and it's But then every so often, like now, like just then, for example, it'll cut to a shot of his real arm, and it just looks really like out of place almost.
Yeah. And also another problem with him is that, all the comedy in the film comes from him, whereas in A New Hope, it all
Mm.
came from the banter between Luke, Han, and Leia,
Yeah, the
and
interplay.
3PO as well.
Yeah.
That's what made it so entertaining and funny to watch. But here, if you just stick it to one person, it's just not as funny.
Well, that's it. He's the comic relief, as opposed to
Yeah.
like say the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. Also, the sequel has it as well.
Mm,
Of like the characters feel real enough that the comedy comes from the situations they're in and how they react to it and play off each other. Whereas in the prequels,
hmm
they would have one comic relief character and everyone else would be so deadpan and straight faced, and
Yeah,
it's just like ugh.
because in here it's Jar Jar, Attack of the Clones it's 3PO, and there isn't really one in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, no,
I mean, I'd say Palpatine, but I don't think that was intentional.
well, that's the thing. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess not. I guess there isn't one in Revenge of the Sith. That's weird.
And now we're coming up to the quote unquote controversial Midichlorians.
Yeah,
Um, Personally, myself, I am not a fan because I can get. Because one thing I've read on the internet is defending it, saying it's science trying to understand religion, why you get powerful Jedi, and they're coming up with an explanation of, oh, it's chemicals in your blood. And okay, I can buy the science part of it, but for me, the whole thing about the Force is believing. For example, in Empire, when Luke says, I don't believe it, and Yoda says, that's why you fail. It'd be like if, I don't know, at the end of that, after Luke said, I don't believe it, Yoda said, that's why you don't have a high midichlorian count, or something like that. It just seems to say, no matter how much you believe in the Force, you'll never be as good as this Jedi who has more midichlorians than you, and yeah, I'm just not a fan
yeah.
of it.
I've never had like a huge issue with it, mainly because it's never really. It's not really focused on too much. Like it's an offhand line. Oh, he's got insanely high midichlorians, but it's not. It's never really a
Yeah.
plot point, if that makes sense, like a crucial plot point. So I don't know. I don't like the idea that it's like, oh, you can only be a Jedi if you have space bugs in your blood and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. I prefer the whole thing of like anyone can be a Jedi, but yeah, I don't get hung up. I just don't think about it really. I just sort of put it to the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
hmm
yeah, but that's another
And one
thing.
thing
That's
I
another thing that the film
and
is
one thing I've
infamous for.
noticed is we've just seen Darth Maul land his ship,
Yes.
and one detail I do like is that when you play as him in Battlefront 2, that's his spaceship.
Yes, I like that too. Yeah. It's
But yeah, Yoda. One of the things I don't like about that game is Yoda flying a spaceship. I'm not a fan. I can't see him doing
it's
that.
just see him in his little booster seat
Yeah.
behind the
My
controls.
ally is the Force.
Yeah. It's always fun in that game where you're just strolling along and then you'll just hear some sabers, and then there's Darth Maul in front of you. There's just a scramble to run away.
Yeah. I mean, putting aside the whole microtransaction things and the loot crate controversy in Battlefront 2, um, those games look and sound incredible.
Oh
When you play them, it's
God,
like
yeah,
you're in the films.
for sure. And Battlefront 2 has really improved since it launched.
Mm,
When it launched, I hated it. It was a complete mess. Like you just said, the microtransactions, all that scummy nonsense. But if you play it now, they've removed all that. It's a lot fairer. You'll actually get a chance to play as heroes in a battle. It's a really good game now.
yeah.
It's just unfortunately the damage was done, and no one was really willing to
hmm
go back to it after the launch. Which, yeah,
Did they add anything from Rise of Skywalker, or did they just stop at Solo?
I think they added some skins, because I know you can play as like Rey in her outfit from that film and Finn as well. I think they added Janna as well as a character, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, no, I think they added some skins. I'm not sure if they added anything beyond that, but
Yeah, because I got rid of my PS4 in 2018 because I wasn't using it that much, and
right.
yeah, when I turned it on, it just sounded like a jet engine in my room, and I'm like, I don't want this. Yeah, but I did enjoy Battlefront 2 when it came out, and I did play it quite a lot because it was quite addictive. But
Yeah,
yeah, I suppose I got rid of it at the wrong time because I heard it got a lot better.
it did.
And
Yeah, but it was one of those things
because I
where the
remember
damage had been done.
playing Battlefront 1, and that started out with you had to be multiplayer to play in Galactic Assault. But then they
Yeah,
changed it where you could be single player and you didn't have to be online, and that's what I preferred.
yeah.
I mean, can you play like Galactic Assault on single player now?
I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've played it. I know the Battlefront 2 had an actual campaign story mode, which
Yeah, but it was rubbish.
yeah, well, yeah, I enjoyed the story of it,
I
but
swear
it was
it
just
took
like,
me
yeah,
I swear it took me in total an hour to do.
yeah, it wasn't very long at all, and it was annoying because it was just like this game, the multiplayer component where you're fighting in starships and going these big arenas, and the story mode's just this standard shooter. It's really weird that it's just a small scale thing. We're coming up now to the changes that were made to the film for the DVD. This scene is a lot longer.
That's true, yeah.
This scene is a hell of a lot longer. I believe in the theatrical version, there's none of this introduction to all the contestants.
Okay.
So this whole bit with like them going, oh, it's this guy, this one from that star system. This was all added for the DVD, which is just like, and you can really see it actually on this new version. The quality of it really sticks out compared to the rest of the film.
I mean, with this, it's kind of a mix of Ben-Hur and Formula One racing,
Yeah.
which I think was the intention. And yeah, I'll say this about the pod racing: the sound design and the visual effects have held up pretty well. But
They have, yeah.
it's something Chris Stuckman pointed out in his review. Every time you see a pod come on screen, it always goes from left to right, left to right.
Yes.
And it's just it just gets dull after a while. And we know he's going to win because the plot needs him to.
Yeah, and when you notice that, you can't unnotice it. The fact that everything's left to right. It is odd. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
God, yeah. Actually, I've never actually noticed this before now, but you can really see the difference in quality from the theatrical footage to all the stuff added for the DVD. It seems to drop in quality really sharply. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And also, of course, the other big change to this film is Cgi Yoda having replaced the...
Yeah.
Because I know for the DVD they kept the puppet,
Yeah.
but for the Blu-ray they did the CGI version, which I didn't mind because it matches with how he looks in the other two films. But and yeah, the puppet, it was the original one, I think, from The Empire Strikes Back, and it had definitely shown its age.
It looks really weird. Yeah, I think.
And Yoda is supposed to obviously be younger in this one.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. It was made. I think it was made for the first Blu-ray release, and yeah. The only problem I have with it is it's clearly 2011 CGI, and it sticks out. It sticks out from the CGI in this film that's from 1999, and also it sticks out compared to the Attack of the Clones one, because I think somebody pointed out to me that in Revenge of the Sith they developed this method where light would shine through Yoda's ears, and it would like light illuminate his ears how it would in real life, but they didn't have that for Attack of the Clones. So you get this version of the film which has that, then Attack of the Clones which doesn't, and then Revenge of the Sith which has that again. So it's just a bit sort of like inconsistent. But yeah, no, I do. It was a good change in the long run, I think, to bring it like in line with the other two, but yeah.
And we've just seen Jabba the Hutt be the host of this.
Yeah.
And if you look closely in the crowd, it's a young Han Solo.
Yes.
Remember Star Wars?
I mean, to be fair, I think actually like having Jabba be at this is kind of cool, because you can imagine that a crime family, a big
Yeah.
like he would be at this event. So I think that is kind of cool. But yeah,
you see another Hutt next to him.
Yeah, it looks like a
with
female
with quite
one.
a big chest. Yeah, so is that his wife?
I guess so. Well, that would line up, wouldn't it? Because we see his son in the Clone Wars cartoon, so I guess that would line up.
Yeah, and his gay uncle.
And his gay uncle.
A senator in this neighborhood. What if she finds out I helped you kidnap Jabba's son? Like, what the fuck am I watching?
We also get a cameo from Aura Singh here. You can see her in the Towers, who... She was a cool character.
Is she a video game character, or...?
I don't know where she originated from. I know that she was in the Clone Wars cartoon. She was one of the bounty hunters in that for quite a few episodes. And she's really cool in that. I really like her in that, but I'm not sure where she originated. But you can see her in this, like, watching the thing. And I like her design because she's got really long... She looks normal. Obviously, she's white, but she looks normal, but she's got really long fingers. And I always found that really creepy as a kid. Also, this scene has the two very insignificant changes that were made to the 2019 version. One is that there was a CGI error where the commentator's arm glitched through his chest, and that's been fixed. And also a part of I cannot believe I'm saying this, but a part of Anakin's pod has been digitally sharpened, so it looks more pointy.
Okay.
That really improves the film. It's just like so minor. It's so weird.
I remember playing this level on... This was an annoying level on Lego Star Wars, because I kept missing those boosters that would make you catch up to the others.
Same,
Yeah. It took me so long, and so many times you'd get to that cutscene of Anakin going,
yes,
when he loses.
And I remember trying to 100% that game and trying to get all the mini kits and everything, and this was a nightmare because there's so many ramps that you have to go up.
Oh, this was the easiest. Yeah, this was the easiest for me in terms of mini kits.
Oh, really?
I think.
Yeah. I'd say the easy.
Yeah,
yeah, go on.
I was hoping that when you got to free play, because obviously it's technically a spaceship level, that you could just, I don't know, play as a Jedi Starfighter and just shoot all the other contestants, but you can't. You can't fire.
Yeah. I think
they disable your guns for this level.
I think the easiest one for me was the first level of Revenge of the Sith, where it's basically it's just an on rails thing where you're only steering it briefly, and I always find that really easy for the mini kits because they're just there.
They're everywhere.
And I always find it funny in free play you can play as Anakin's pod racer, and it just looks really funny, just this little pod going through this massive battle. The little Rhodian kid played by Warwick Davis is just literally just going. She's just wandering around kicking the floor like bored, and I just like.
Yeah, I sympathise with him.
Because I think it was an unusual suspect that pointed this out. It must be the worst sport to watch ever, because half the time you can't see them.
Yeah. It's like in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire when they do the Triwizard tasks.
Yeah.
One of them's underwater, they can't see. One of them's in a maze where it closes. It'd be like going to a football game and then barriers go over the players and you have to wait until the team's won or something.
Exactly, yeah, it's so weird. The only one that you can actually see in Harry Potter is the first one with the dragon, but the dragon flies off anyway, so they're screwed there too.
Yeah, the sound design on these pods is great.
Oh,
You
it's
really get
incredible.
the sense of speed here. It is
It's
fantastic, and
incredible, yeah.
yeah, given how primitive computers were in 1999 compared to now, the fact that they were able to give us scenes like this was great.
Oh yeah, the sound design in the prequels is amazing. Good old Ben Burt, the sound designer.
Hmm.
Yeah, I used to have a book actually as a kid. It was like The Sounds of Star Wars, and it was a pretty cool book about like the making of the sounds and stuff, and interviews with Ben Burt and stuff. But on the side, they had like buttons that you could press, and each
Hmm.
button would play a sound from the films. And as you read through the book, it would give you a number to and you press the number, and it would play that sound that they were talking about. It was really cool.
Mm.
Yeah, so that bit of Anakin's wand has been sharpened up.
Ah,
I think
okay.
it was because when they did the 3D re-release of this in cinemas, it was to make it more like it was to make it pop out of the screen a bit more. Which
Yeah, I remember that was a thing.
yeah,
2012 they re-released it in 3D, and they were gonna re-release the other six films as well. But I think when Disney took control of Lucasfilm, they cancelled it.
yeah, and I saw this in 3D actually. I did see this in the cinema, and
Oh,
it wasn't too
nice.
bad in 3D actually. I seem to remember it was quite effective. Not so much of like things popping out of the screen, but like the depth of it. I seem to remember in 3D
Hmm.
that it was like really, you really got a sense of like how lively the backgrounds are. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's a shame they didn't do the others, because I know that they did complete work on the 3D versions of 2 and 3. Because they apparently Natalie Portman's face didn't show up well in 3D, so they made a digital
Oh.
version of Natalie Portman and grafted that onto
Hmm.
her face. So the 3D version that's been
Oh,
shown at
wow.
like conventions and things has like a CGI
Hmm.
Natalie Portman face that's just placed on top of her own to make her look better in 3D. It's so weird. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I'm surprised in this race Anakin doesn't try and spin
Yeah,
on purpose.
yeah,
I'll try spinning,
that's a
that's
good
a good
trick.
trick. I mean, that was me on the space battles for Battlefront 2. I'll try spinning, that's a good trick.
Oh god, the sound design is so good. It's really cool.
It is, yeah. Yeah, I just think the problem is it just goes on too long.
Well, yeah, and that's
And I know
yeah,
races do last pretty long, but yeah, you can't just have it be this long for a film.
and that's just exacerbated by all the extra stuff that was added in for the DVD. It's just like, well, why would you add more of
Yeah,
just padding? It's just
yeah.
complete padding. I don't get it. I guess we haven't mentioned John Williams yet, which,
No, we
which is a
haven't. I
crime.
feel ashamed.
Yeah. Um.
Yeah, his music for this, well, for all the films, is just incredible, I
It
think.
is. It's fantastic. I mean, this is just. I know a lot of people actually say that this is his best score. Uh. Which
Personally, I'd go with Revenge of the Sith being his best
me
score
too.
because it's just so haunting.
Me too. Yeah.
Probably closely followed by Empire Strikes Back. But I'd say the one that puts me in the best mood is probably his score for A New Hope.
Yes. Yeah. I think. Yeah. The Revenge of the Sith is my favorite of his music.
Hmm.
Then maybe this or Empire. I can't decide between the two. Um, I really like his score for The Last Jedi as well. I think his music
Yeah,
for that is great. I mean, to be
and I
fair, he's
also
not
love
he's not
his
given a bad score. To be fair, so it's just
No, you can't go wrong with John
no.
Williams. And also, I also love his Across the Stars music for Attack of the Clones
Yeah, me
because
too.
oh, we'll get to that romance when we get there. But It surprises me that he's not done more romantic scores for films,
Hmm.
but I suppose in the films he's done, he's not been really given a chance to.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the big standout track from this film was obviously Duel of the Fates, which was
Hmm.
is incredible. I mean, we'll get onto it, but it's fantastic. Proto.
Fuck this shit! That kid looked like he wanted to high five baby
Yeah.
Greedo, but it's not like he was giving him the
The
chance.
dance that little Greedo does.
Yeah.
Oh, that was some obvious ADR there. Mom, I
Yeah.
did it.
I mean, you do have to wonder, would Anakin have turned to the dark side if Qui-Gon was still his master?
Yeah, well, it's who knows. So that's the it's. There are many times watching the
Because you have
prequels.
Qui-Gon who's kind of who doesn't really go with what the
Mm,
Jedi say all the time. For
yeah,
example, Padme, does call him out on this earlier in the film, saying, "Are you sure this is wise? Putting our faith in a boy that we don't even know," something like that. Um, yeah, because I bet if Obi-Wan was in this position, he probably would have done something a bit more sensible
yeah,
rather than gambling it all on a pod race. But yeah, and I don't think. I think later in the film, no one else sees that Anakin is the chosen one or the one who will bring balance to the Force apart from Qui Gon.
well, yeah, because later on, later on, Obi-Wan's like, "What are you doing? You freaking idiot! What's happening?" And then, like, in the space of 5 minutes, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you were right." Yeah, but
Yeah.
there are many times watching the prequels where I'm always like, God, if one of these characters had made just a decision, just a different decision here or there, would it have been different? You know, it's interesting.
Hmm. And also, I'm not a big fan of the whole chosen one prophecy
Mm.
because, it was never mentioned in the original trilogy. And, I just don't buy the fact that the chosen one is the same person who helps wipe out all the Jedi and help a fascist dictatorship rise to
Yeah.
power.
God, you can really, really see here where George has smoothed over the film to try and make it look more digital like the other two.
That's
You can
true,
really see how
yeah.
waxy their faces are. I think you can actually see some like green screen there reflected in his eyes, in Jake Lloyd's eyes.
Yeah.
There's actually a few times during when we've been doing this commentary, I have noticed like green reflections on things occasionally, and like blue reflections.
Hmm.
It's yeah. I mean, you think this was only like 2 years before like Lord of the Rings, for example, which
It was,
which
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, to be honest, with Lord of the Rings, you'd be surprised that how practical it is because the
Mm,
most CGI, I mean, from what I can think of, is obviously Gollum and obviously the cave trolls and things like that. But yeah, so many of it was done practically.
yeah. And like it's interesting because in many ways, The Lord of the Rings and Peter Jackson mirror George Lucas. They did one big trilogy that's
I mean,
held up for
yeah.
its practical effects and loved, and then they did a prequel trilogy which isn't so loved and is frequently criticised for its poor CGI, or not necessarily
Yeah, I
poor CGI,
mean,
but abundance of CGI.
yeah, because I know so many people compare the prequels to The Hobbit,
Mm,
and Yeah, I can definitely see why, but I just think the Hobbit has better acting because
Yeah, oh, yeah,
I just think Peter Jackson is a better actors director
yeah,
because with all the actors, I buy that they're in that world, even though it is mostly CGI. With this, they just look so bored and flat that you
yeah.
just don't get any sense of adventure or fun with it.
I don't mind The Hobbit actually. It's definitely been ruined for me by watching Lindsay Ellis's videos on it, but I don't
Yeah.
mind it. It's it's
I mean, yeah, I can still enjoy it. I mean, I really enjoy Lindsay Ellis's
mm,
documentaries. I mean,
they're all too
I'm
long,
genuinely
but
surprised she. I wouldn't say they're too long. I'd say they're the perfect length.
no, really.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think her longest one is her second Game of Thrones one, and I mean, if you ever get there, you'll realize how satisfying her criticisms are.
Oh no, no, I meant the films, not the not her
Oh, the
videos.
film.
No,
Oh,
no, no, no.
sorry.
Yeah, no, her videos are great. No, no, no. I meant
Yeah.
the Hobbit films are too long. Um,
Ah,
yeah,
right.
no, no. Her videos are perfect. I love her videos on them.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, I'd argue this scene here is Jake Lloyd's best scene because it's really
this
good,
seems great.
and the music obviously helps as
Oh yeah,
well.
for sure.
Yeah.
We get the Force theme coming up in a minute. It's really good.
Shame it's ruined in Attack of the Clones. Wait, you haven't been back to see your mother? What did you
Yeah.
say? I will come back and free you, mother. I promise. I mean, he's probably upset because of all the sand she's standing in.
Yeah, he doesn't like that sand. It's coarse, rough, irritating, and it gets everywhere.
The funniest thing is, Hayden Christensen was asked about that during the 40th anniversary celebrations, and he answered in completely good faith, which I'm happy for. He didn't say, "Oh, shut up."
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think he said something like, "Well, Anakin lived on a sand planet his whole life when he was a kid, so if you're surrounded by it 24/7, you're probably going to get bored by it."
I'm so glad the expanded universe brought Darth Maul back because
Oh
it
yeah,
was
definitely.
such a way. I find this shot really funny. Whew! He just goes off the cliff. But yeah, no, he's such a
Yeah.
cool character, and it's like, man, like what? Such a waste to kill him off in the first film.
Yeah, honestly, this is my take on the prequels. I think Maul should have been the apprentice throughout, like Darth Vader was in the originals.
Yeah, for sure.
And but because I think there was a way to keep him the Sith apprentice, maybe have Count Dooku, leader of the Separatists, and General Grievous, leader of the Droid Army.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because Full Fat Videos, they did a video on all three of those characters and how they foreshadow Darth Vader. Because with Maul, you've got him being a Sith Lord, Count Dooku, a fallen Jedi, and General Grievous, a cyborg,
Yeah, that it
who was once a human, I think, now trapped in a metal machine.
would have worked really well. I think. I mean, and yeah,
Yeah, because I'd have had him maybe kill him off, like in the middle of episode 3, have Anakin do it. Always being, you know, because the personal stakes would have been there because he killed Qui-Gon, and maybe he defeats. Yeah, so I don't want to say that because I like Christopher Lee a lot as Count Dooku, so it would mean getting rid of him maybe. But yeah, just have him die and have Anakin have the same decision that Luke did in Return of the Jedi, where the Emperor's literally saying, "Kill him and take your place at my side." But with Anakin's case, he actually does it and becomes a Sith Lord.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, this actor's name, it's going to annoy me. He's been in many things. He's very good. I saw him in a play in tour, Good Night, Mr. Tom, I think it was. Saw him
Right, I see.
in London on a school trip. And he
Oh,
was great. And it's
nice.
Oliver something, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, because I don't get. Right, I don't get. Now that we've actually flashed back to Naboo, I'm actually not sure what's Palpatine's plan with it. Cause a blockade, start an invasion, have her sign a treaty that makes it legal, but then raise this in the Senate so he can be Chancellor?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, yeah, it's more that there's so much. The plan has so many layers to it, and it's such a long game. It's just like, well,
I mean, I wonder if Lex Luthor from Batman v Superman saw this and thought, of course, I need to make my plan that stupid and convoluted. You know, one day we're going to have to do Batman v Superman.
I know.
The
Day.
Ultimate Edition.
I mean, to be fair, the Ultimate Edition is the only one I'll watch. But at the same time, it's fucking 3 hours long.
No.
And the Snyder Cut is 4 hours. 4 hours.
Oh, what?
4 hours of Zack Snyder thinking he's smart.
Well, the reason it's 4 hours is because we live in a society.
Oh my god, that trailer. Oh my god. That actually looks embarrassing. We live in a society indeed. Batman.
It's like he looked at... It's like he looked at the MCU and thought, well, wait, what's this? Colour?
Fun?
Sunshine?
Smiles?
That's not superheroes. We need to make everything dark and brown. And look like someone's puked on the lens.
and we'll inexplicably film it in IMAX and then crop the footage down to 4:3. I know, that'll make it clever. We'll release it in 4:3. Fuck off. I get so irritated when I talk about Zack Snyder because I'm sure he's a perfectly nice man, but he seems like an utter twat. He just seems like a really we'll get there eventually.
Kneel before Valorum.
Kneel before Valorum. God, I forget he's in this. It's such a nothing role.
He hated doing this.
I don't blame him. It's such a nothing role. He just stands there and goes, "Whoa, I'm not doing nothing," and now I'm.
Yeah, because I think there were
so stupid.
I think there were plans to include him in the next 2 films, but because he hated doing this so much, he just said no.
Yeah.
I think because, as he said, because as the way most of this film was shot, he said all it was just me in a green screen.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of I think there's a story where Ian McKellen on the set of The Hobbit broke down in tears, right? Because he was just like,
yeah, you can actually see that on the appendices.
Really?
Yeah, because with the 3D effect, they couldn't do the classic thing of putting the smaller character towards the camera because to make him look bigger because it would have been too obvious, so they had to green screen him in to obviously make him look bigger than the dwarfs. And he just said, "This is not why I became an actor."
Bloody hell. I'd like to see that clip actually. I wonder if that's online somewhere. Because I
think it should be because it's on the appendices. On the extended cut.
I think I have the extended cut of the first one, but not the other 2.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ian McDiarmid said he did when he was making Return of the Jedi. He said George Lucas told him about his plans for the prequel and sequel films, and he said, "Oh, that'd be nice. So I guess you're going to get a younger actor to play my character." And he's like, "No, I want you to be in it."
I mean,
he was genuinely surprised when George Lucas asked him back.
It's kind of perfect though, isn't it? Because it means that he's the perfect age for it, and because of the makeup in Return of the Jedi, it's not like you can really, you can't really tell. It's a case where everything sort of fell into place.
Yeah, because he was only 37 when he did Return of the Jedi, and he looks way older than that, obviously, because of all the makeup.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he's the perfect age for this. And this is something I do like about Palpatine, is that he does manipulate Padme without her knowing it, because she still thinks that uh, he's her friend and trying to help her.
Mm.
And obviously she unwillingly makes him the Chancellor.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know that with the new CGI model, I don't know that the voice necessarily fits anymore. I feel like
Yeah, because with that
yeah,
voice, it matched the puppet's quirky
it
appearance.
did, yeah, and it feels a
Yeah, and
bit
definitely in Empire when he pretends to be a weird native.
yeah,
Looking found someone you have, I would
yeah,
say.
exactly. We also, in this scene in the background, we have my favourite Star Wars character of all, Yaddle, the female Yoda.
Oh
When it's
yeah.
literally just a wig. There she is in the background.
There she is, yeah.
She's just this hideous
Well, we've actually
wig.
got we've got my favourite Jedi, which is Yaral Poof, the long-necked
The long
guy
neck guy.
who's right there.
And in the background of
Yeah, because
you can just see him moving his head around.
there's that Robot Chicken sketch where Yoda and Mace are just discussing like he could bring balance to the Force. Correct, you are. Though much fear I sense in his training. And he just like looks around and is like and says in the most whiny voice ever, "I thought you said that would be bad. Can I ask what the prophecy is? Why is that something I don't know?" I will tell him of the council's decision tomorrow. Oh, so it's a council now? It's not just you two making the decisions? Does anyone realize I'm talking? In fact, Yaddle actually does speak in that Robot Chicken sketch.
Oh, good old Yaddle.
Yeah, because they say, getting pizza, Yaddle should do. All in favor? Aye.
It seems like...
Hey, Yaddle, I'm going to have to use your space pod. In the shop it is.
Well, it looks as though she's a playable character in Lego Skywalker Saga game.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
she was in one of the trailers, and it's just like, oh my god, I can play as Yaddle.
They're adding I know they're adding speech to the cutscenes now, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been doing that since Lego Batman 2, I think, was the first one to have speech, which is a shame.
I mean, I can get why they're adding it, because obviously it's probably a bit primitive to live in 2021 and still have a game where characters are grunting, but I think that's what made it so funny for the originals.
Yeah.
You know, it was just characters grunting, and it was a light-hearted take on these films, particularly the "I am your father" reveal.
Oh, yeah.
It's just Darth Vader showing a picture of Anakin and Padme pregnant or something, and he's like,
he's just like, he points to it and goes, and that's the thing. The comedy was more charming, I think, because they didn't have to. I mean, some games do it better than others. The games that have original stories do the voice thing better because it's voice actors doing it. But the games where it's just taking samples from the films, I really don't like that because it just sounds really odd. The Lego...
And it was weird on... I've not played it, but I've seen cutscenes of Lego Dimensions, particularly the Doctor Who ones.
Yeah.
And of course in that, when you die, you become the next Doctor, which is such a cool thing. And it was so weird watching the first Doctor run, because he was running, like, whilst holding his lapels. He never ran like that in the TV series. And of course, in this scene, you get to see E.T., don't you? Well,
yes, you can
ETs.
see... Yeah, you can see E.T., his species. I think for a while, because in E.T., he walks past a kid in a Yoda costume, doesn't he? And he goes, home. Yeah,
that's such a nice moment. He goes, home.
And I think, yeah.
And also, you can hear John Williams puts in the Yoda screen.
He does, yeah. I've always loved that little detail.
I will accept that as canon. E.T. is from the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another odd change that apparently was made to the DVD version. A few of the human helpers, there they are. A few of those Twi'leks in the back were originally humans in the original theatrical version, so they've just been replaced with Twi'leks in this, which is just, again, what is the point? What is the point?
I mean, maybe Lucas wants to show all the different species that live in the universe.
I know, but it's just like, why not do that originally then? Why after the fact? It's just like, why? It's so weird. I love this shot.
No, I know Red Letter Media. That's a really cool shot against the sunset. Just reminds me a bit of The Lion King.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
And Red Letter Media made a good point. You know, they put so much effort into having all those cars flying around in Coruscant. But if you were they said if you were an average Joe, the rise of the Empire meant nothing to you.
Yeah,
because it's still happening by Revenge of the Sith. They're just flying around as if nothing's happening. And that's another thing I like about the Clone Wars, is that they do expand upon how is this affecting the people of the galaxy.
They do, yeah.
And how they're losing faith in the Jedi because they're taking too long to solve the conflicts and they just want it to end.
And I really enjoyed as well in the Clone Wars, you had like episodes that were set in like the underground as well, and like the seedier side of Coruscant. It was always really cool.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to fear. Fear leads to suffering. Hate leads to fear. Fear leads to...
That is such a cool edit. I love that.
Suffering leads to hate. Hate leads to fear. Fear leads to anger. Come on, Yoda. I know you like to smoke death sticks. I do not. Lame you are.
I do that. We should have a grand army. I'll bet you have. Shoots Jar Jar.
Yeah. Gungan's gonna get pasted. What, you're gonna get shit-faced? I know he came back for Ahmed Best. He came back for Robot Chicken, because there's that sketch where the Emperor's about to die and he says, "Hey, I'm sorry I manipulated you into emergency powers." And he's like, "Oh, yes, Palpy. Misa, you're so manipulated me." And then he just goes, "Ha, ha, 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 ha," and puts on the Darth Jar Jar confirmed.
A surprise, to be sure.
There
But
was...
a welcome one.
Oh, I remember the rumour when the sequels were about to come out. They were saying that Robert Pattinson was going to play Jar Jar.
I remember that. That was weird. That was a weird time
like,
in the
what?
internet. that was oh god.
Misa sell them to buy Misa some space spliff.
Because actually,
Jim Jam, what happened to the wheels on my landing gear? Misa sell them to buy Misa some space spliff.
Because actually, I remember shit, I've just forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, okay, that's brilliant. I think my brain's just collapsed. I was literally about to say it and it just went.
Too much space spliff.
Too much space spliff. Shit, you discovered my secret. Actually, yeah, that was it. In the Clone Wars, I think Ahmed Best came back for like one episode, right? And then every time Jar Jar appeared, he'd have a different voice. It was really weird.
I think so, yeah, because he was. From what I can remember, he's in a story arc in season 4, I think, where they tried to get. Oh, what they called Admiral Akbar's species, Mon Calamaris. They're trying to get them on their side.
Yeah.
And yeah, that story arc reminds me so much of Aquaman.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Like it's like the bubbles and everything.
And he tries to be. And I think he pretends to be the Gungan leader who's interested in joining the Separatists and has to treat with General Grievous.
Yes.
And it's kind of funny seeing how annoyed Grievous gets with him.
I think.
Right, Mace is about to say, this is the clue to uncovering the mystery of the Sith. You said literally 2 scenes ago, we will discover the identity of your attacker. What, by sitting around doing nothing?
Yeah, it's. To be honest, I think this whole section of the film is the bit that loses me. Because I feel like once you get onto Coruscant, it's literally just people sat around talking. And then you get into the third act, and then it starts to pick up again. I think that it just it's this whole section is just sags the film down really.
It's like what the Unusual Suspects said. Watch the prequels like you would porn.
Yeah.
Ignore the shitty dialogue and acting and cut straight to the action. I don't get, why did they bring him to a war zone?
Yeah, it is odd, isn't it? It's like why would you? I don't know. And I sort of missed the chance to talk about it at the start of the film, but when they land on Naboo, and it's like the Theed Palace is like halfway across the other side of the planet. And again, like it's what the Unusual Suspect said. It's like that'd be like trying to invade Earth, trying to invade the United Kingdom, and trying to take Buckingham Palace hostage, and then you land in fucking Australia.
I know, it's like, so
there's
weird.
a bit of a difference.
I forget Brian Blessed's in this as Boss Nass.
I forget he's in this as well. What an absolute
the planet.
Oh, when I'm feeling down, sometimes I'll just think of him in the recording booth doing the and I'll just be like, oh, somebody's got to see that. Somebody was sitting in on the recording session there. So does that Queen makeup just alter her speech? Because she's talking normally, she's fine.
That's true,
as soon as she gets that Queen makeup on, it's Senator Palpatine seems to think so.
Yeah. Yeah, Keira Knightley, she's so flat in this.
She really is.
She's not in the next 2 films, is she? Because they have
other decoys.
Padme has different successors and queens. Yeah.
They have. It's really weird. I don't even think it's her fault. I just think it's like I don't know I don't know how old she would have been when she did this.
Also, those Trade Federation ships, they're like donuts.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Donuts. I get donuts. Hey, I know you. Hey, wait up. We gotta swap insurance info. I mean, that's most episodes of Clone Wars. You get, separatists flying about. The the Jedi are like, pallies. I got pallies. Hey, I know you. Hey, wake it up. We gotta swap Republic deals. Hey. Now, did they film any of this in Britain? Because I know the original was done in Pinewood Studios, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Possibly. Because I don't know. It's difficult because I think there's that story, like episode 2, or it might be episode 3, has like an insane amount of model shots, and like stuff filmed on
It does, yeah.
stuff filmed on location, like probably the most of the entire saga, but it's just covered up in a load of CGI. So it's a little bit hard to judge.
Yeah, it's such a shame.
Yeah, and it's a little bit hard to judge what is and isn't actually there, and yeah, I don't know. I would say not, because I think there's footage of like Spielberg coming to visit the set, and I doubt unless he was already in England. I don't know if they'd fly him over just for a set visit.
Yeah, because we're about to get the whole twist, like, I'm the real Queen
Yeah.
Amidala. Just reminds me of that. It's the equivalent of that scene in The Simpsons where those ants are in space. Homer's about to smash them. Protect the Queen. Which one's the Queen? I'm the Queen. No, you're not. It's like that, to be honest.
Maybe the real Queen Amidala was the friends we made along the way. God, I've just noticed there's a little like pig creature walking along like by the water there. There's this little CGI little pig creature running along. It's like that's just reminding me about this.
Yeah,
it's odd, isn't it? It's being in this forest setting reminds me of like in the Lego games where you play as Jar Jar and he could jump like really high, and it was always the thing in Lego games. It was he could jump really high, and female characters could jump really high. I think in Lego Indiana Jones, all the female characters like could either scream really loudly or jump really high, and it was just like, ooh, it's a little bit of stereotyping there, but whatever. So this one as well. There's footage of George Lucas showing Ahmed Best how to walk as Jar Jar. And he's doing like the thing where he's like flopping his arms about and stuff. Channels a bit of Homer Simpson there, where he wiggles his fingers as well.
He goes like... Greetings, good man. Might I trouble you for a drink? Get out of here, Homer. Homer? Who is Homer? My name is Kai Cognito. Oh yeah, they're about to say when they see the battle, say, "This is too close." I'm just reminded again of The Unusual Suspect because he edits that ping pong match happening. This is too close. Like, why does he get the role of general?
Bomba General.
Ugh. I mean, it makes sense when Lando is in Return of the Jedi, because, he's probably an experienced smuggler and pilot. Yeah. But, ugh. Yeah, and again, this climax, just like the rest of the film, it just doesn't... Go.
So it's interesting to me. I'm surprised that George Lucas never tried to update the hologram effects in the older films with all the special editions, because
That's true.
especially in Empire, I'm thinking about one shot where the Vader hologram looks really like dodgy. But then, you know, in these films they're all clean and crisp, and it's just, and even in the sequels the holograms look a little bit like dodgy and beaten up. So I'm surprised that
Yeah, true.
they look so much cleaner here.
Yeah, this climax, it just doesn't, apart from the lightsaber duel, it just doesn't do anything for me,
Yeah.
because the stakes aren't clear. You're just not sure what they're fighting for.
There's
That's
too
all.
many battles, I think, is the kind of...
And again, there's a huge tone whiplash, because you have the Duel of the Fates going on, and you cut to Jar Jar going, "Uh-oh, beat boomer."
Yeah.
We'll call them boomers, you know, because kids are fucking morons. And they'll laugh.
This... the shot of the Emperor hologram bobbing up and down looks so
on
silly.
That spider thingy.
It looks so unintentionally
yeah.
funny. Though that line was all in all the trailers, wasn't it? Wipe them out, all of them. I think it ended like most of the trailers.
And that I'm sure that shot of the Gungans on those camel thingies coming out of the mist, I'm sure that was like the first shot of the trailer, something like that. After the whole every saga has a beginning.
It is a
like
really
that,
cool shot.
Heck, the hype was so off the chart that Roger Ebert did an entire episode, I think, dedicated to the trailer.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
so he might have made the first trailer reaction video.
Yeah, well, people were buying tickets to films that they were walking out of just so they could see the trailer.
Heck, I think that happened with Attack of the Clones as well.
Yes, it was.
People,
yeah, that is. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think people went to see Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Just so they could see trailers for Attack of the Clones.
That's true.
Or maybe Chamber of Secrets, the Harry Potter film, I'm not sure.
These shots look vaguely like 1994 video game cutscenes. Those shots of the I don't know what you call them, the battle ships, like the tanks, I guess, coming over the...
Oh, they're called... I mean, I know this because of Battlefront 2, they're called ART.
Oh.
AAT.
AAT. Okay.
They call it an AAT, but obviously, if you'd say the acronym, it's ART.
I don't remember what they were called in the Lego games, because I definitely remember they were playable in the Lego games. Always kind of perplexed me that the battle droid voices were so different in this compared to what they are in everything else as well.
Yeah, because by Sith, they're just so squawky, like, drop your weapons. I should drop them. Yeah.
And then in the Clone Wars as well, they're like that. But in this, they're like just generic kind of robot.
Yeah, early seasons of the Clone Wars, they really played up the battle droid comedy.
Yeah.
Like, for the first episode, Ambush, of Yoda slicing them apart, and one of them goes, "But I just got promoted."
Yes, yeah.
Like, you're a droid.
And there's that really dark bit in one of the episodes where he uses the Force to make the super battle droid fire on his own enemies. And the poor guy just gets murdered by his friends, and he's just like, "It is not me. I don't know what is happening." It's like, oh, poor guy.
Now, this space battle here, I know in the Lego game, because I had the complete saga on the Wii, and this was like a deleted level.
Yeah,
where it was called Anakin's Flight, and you could play as him and, take down the droid ship.
That's it, yeah. What I really loved about the complete saga was it gave you a lot of extra content, because obviously it was just a mashup of the previous two games, but the fact that they gave you like deleted levels and levels from the original versions that had been updated and stuff, it was really cool.
Yeah, and as a kid you can have a field day by putting prequel characters in the original trilogy and vice versa.
God, it's the coolest thing ever. And like I used to make up stories as well. Like I used to have like, at least I used to like him as a 10-year-old go, oh, Obi-Wan came back as a ghost and resurrected Anakin, and they're going on adventures now, and like I used to like put them in like Return of the Jedi and things.
Yeah, I used to have like, particularly on the Rescue the Chancellor mission, I changed Anakin and Obi-Wan to like a clone commander and a clone trooper.
Yes, yeah.
Single-handedly saving the Republic, which was cool to have.
This is a cool shot as well.
Yeah, them coming through the shield. I mean, it irritated me in the original Battlefront 2, you know, the one made in 2005, because for the Separatists, for the infantry class, you know, the standard soldier, they had the super battle droids, but I thought, surely that's the upgraded version.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the new Battlefront 2 obviously corrected that, because you play as these when you're, like, playing as a soldier.
Yeah, the standard kind of, yeah.
Now, I will say, yeah, this fight is really well choreographed, but problem is, there's just no emotional stakes to it. They just decide to fight him because, oh, he's in the way.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
literally it. You know,
We'll handle this.
it's not like Obi-Wan. Yeah, it's not like Obi-Wan and Vader because they have a past together.
Yeah.
But here, they don't know Darth Maul. I mean, obviously Qui-Gon was attacked by him earlier, but that's kind of it. Yeah.
It is cool though. If nothing else, it is really cool. It's, like with the music and everything, and how it's kind of timed to the hits. And
yeah, because I know people do criticize the choreography for being too over choreographed,
yeah,
but the thing is, that didn't bother me too much because they're Jedi in their prime. Of course, they're going to be master swordsmen.
yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know people criticize the Force Awakens battle because they say it's too slow, but again, it makes perfect sense to me why that fight's so good, because it's clumsy, because neither Rey or Finn have held a lightsaber before.
Yeah, the Force Awakens lightsaber fight is one of my favourites. The way it's literally, it's because everyone involved is really flawed, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah, Ray Park is at the body of Darth Maul, shall we say? Yeah, and he is such a good stuntman.
Yeah.
Because I know he was in X-Men. I think he was in Sleepy Hollow, and he did come back for season 7 to do the mocap.
He did, yeah. And that fight,
that's such a great twist,
fight in season 7, where the animation just goes on another level because it turns into mocap. Oh my god, it was so cool, so cool. If you look really closely at a lot of this stuff, though, when the lightsabers are going in front of those big, like, energy core things, they disappear. They go transparent. If you look really closely, it's kind of riddled with effects errors.
True,
and they go transparent. They start kind of glitching out. It's like, damn. I really like the sound effects.
I remember as a kid going to my local laser zone.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as a kid, I really liked going to my local laser zone and just reenacting Star Wars scenes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and again, we just cut to Jar Jar trying to being an idiot and succeeding that way.
Yeah. And it somehow like takes out a droidica. How does it take out a droidica?
Yeah, because I know I think it was the original Battlefront 2, they were so annoying. Like, whenever I saw one rolling, that was the only time we could kill it, and I was like, shoot! And when it got up and turned its shit, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I just run away. Yeah.
Get us off this autopilot.
This is tense.
This is tense. Isn't Celia Imrie one of these pilots?
Maybe, I don't know.
Sure she is, because I remember noticing it and being like, that's a weird, like, small part for an actor of her caliber, but...
Also, you've got to love how the adult-shaped helmet fits him.
Yes, yeah. Perfectly fits as well. It kind of would have added...
Maybe they put kids out there sometimes.
Kind of would have added more charm if it was, like, loose and, like, not really fitting. It would have been quite charming. I was like the sound effect of Padme's gun. The whew, whew,
Yeah.
like, it sounds really cool.
And apparently, whenever Padme shoots someone, she always hits it, because apparently, like her daughter, Princess Leia, she never misses.
Oh. Oh yes, that's kind of cool.
So you might
It's like poetry,
not be able to look at the prequels the same way again now.
It's like poetry. Every stanza kind of rhymes with the next one.
Yeah, and I do like this thing that Maul does. He separates them so he can take them out one by one.
Yes, it is cool.
Though the problem is, Obi-Wan, if you just used your force speed like you did earlier in the film, you could have caught up to them.
Yeah. Double lightsaber. What does it mean? Yeah, if you look there, like, Qui-Gon's lightsaber was turning blue then. When it's, like, up against the core reactor, it starts turning blue. It's really, like...
Yeah.
What is the purpose of these?
Yeah.
Like, these big... I don't get what the purpose is.
I mean, it does lead to this great scene, you know.
Oh, yeah, for
Qui-Gon
sure.
simply sits and waits, even closes his eyes, whereas Maul paces, obviously with all the rage inside him.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan in the background he's not moving like Maul, but he's still stood up, and he's obviously impatient, waiting for him to join the fight again.
It's brilliant. It's really well done.
Just visually it shows the differences between the Jedi and the Sith.
And the whole thing of, like, he's like a caged animal, like, just walking around, and Qui-Gon's just there, calm and collected.
Oh, Christ, here we go. Uh-oh, big boomer! Oh, fucking hell.
This is nutsin'.
We'll get him to say things like nutsin', boomers, and doo-doo, and have him step in shit, because kids are morons, and they'll laugh at anything.
He's a funnier character than we've ever had before.
I may have gone too far in places.
I do think, though, like, the negative reaction to this, like, the reverberated for years, it has repeated itself with The Last Jedi. Definitely repeated itself, and it's... I still maintain with what George Lucas said when he was like, people sometimes can't accept that Star Wars is for 12-year-olds, and what they felt as a kid watching it will never be replicated in that exact way.
That is true, yeah.
It's the same. I think we've spoken about this with Doctor Who before. Actually, it's the same kind of deal there. A lot of people kind of can't accept that it's not really for. It's not for the middle-aged men in the audience. It's for the kids, really. And that's not me excusing stuff like the Jar Jar humor, because obviously that that's like kids.
Careful what you say about Star Wars on the internet, because you'll end up on the EFAP stream.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if you've heard of those.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah. Ugh.
I really want to know if anyone has ever sat down and watched those in full, like from start to end. Because the average one is 9 hours.
Yeah.
Like, do any of those guys work? Or maybe that is their full-time job. If so, good for them.
I mean, it is like you said earlier, though, like the whole thing, the whole fallout that happened when Dave Filoni said that thing when he was in the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian. And it was like, you know, I love Dave Filoni, obviously, but like what he was saying was just basic. It's just it's basic sort of taking the message of the scene. Really, it's not any big revelation.
It's not like the second coming of the prequels.
It's not like reading into it thematically or anything. It's just what you would naturally assume is. I don't know. It's. And to be fair to Dave Filoni, I don't think he said it as a big revelation. I think it was just everyone who watched that it was like, oh, holy shit, the prequels are suddenly masterpieces. It's just like, come on.
Yeah. Because the thing is, you cut to Anakin in going, yippee, and I'll try spinning, that's a good trick.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say this is about the fate of Anakin when you cut to him like that.
Yeah.
It'd be like if, I don't know, Return of the Jedi, you'd say, the fate of the galaxy is at stake, and you cut to, I don't know, people in a bar smoking and having a drink. Yeah.
Also, the mentor figure just got stabbed and died, and the younger character went, no! That must mean this is a remake of A New Hope.
Oh yeah, definitely. Though technically, the mentor figure in A New Hope didn't get stabbed. He was sliced and disappeared, so that does not count.
It doesn't count. As racist as they are, pretty good animatronics, though, on the mouth and everything.
I'm not too sure. Sometimes it just looks really bad. Like, the lip just flickers and that's it. It just looks kind of naff.
Sometimes it is sort of just making random movements, yeah. That is kind of a cool thing. Like in the chairs in that room, there's just guns hidden in the sides of it. So if she sat on her throne and an assassin comes in, it's just like, you what, mate? Bang. That's kind of cool. This is kind of it is being the shortest of the prequels as well. It definitely feels a bit more sort of. I've talked in this commentary about it dragging, but it does feel a bit pacier than the other two, I think, just because it is the shortest one.
Yeah, probably. The Last Jedi teaches us that failure is the greatest teacher there is, and what Obi-Wan learns from this failure is that having the high ground is important. And another thing, going back to the whole, they succeed by accident, Anakin, destroys the ship completely by accident. It's not like in A New Hope where Luke has to believe, to blow up the Death Star, but here it's just take this and this. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's yeah. Good model shots though, like of that reactor collapsing a minute ago.
Yeah.
And like when the actual ship explodes, it's all a model shot and it looks really good.
Yeah, I like how they use those designs in Battlefront 2, where you get to
yeah,
kind of like take down the droid ship. That's a great thing. This ending was so good, in quotation marks. The ending to Game of Thrones Season 8 took influence from it.
Did it? What happened there?
I don't know whether I should tell you, because you might be cripplingly disappointed, but I might save you from that disappointment.
All right, okay. It's like I said before,
I'll just say,
one day I'll watch it.
Basically, they take out the main threat by stabbing the leader.
Yeah.
And that gets rid of the whole threat, kind of like this.
That's become like a weird like trope, because that happens in the Avengers as well. they
Yeah, you
just
take out that, it takes out the whole army.
take out
Yeah.
the big thing in the sky, the big mothership, and everyone just collapses. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, as much as I love that fight, I don't buy, the ending where, he gets up, uses Qui-Gon's lightsaber to kill him, because
Yeah.
Maul was such a competent fighter, and now he just stands there gormlessly,
Yeah, for
waiting
sure.
for him to do that. He couldn't have, blocked him or chopped his legs off.
But again, that is redeemed by the Clone Wars and him being brought back as a weird, like, spider hybrid creature initially, which I always thought was really
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Topher Grace's edit of the prequels opens with this scene, and this is the first.
Oh, okay.
This is the first scene of the film, and then it goes straight into Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith,
Oh,
and
wow.
combines them into one 2-hour film.
Because I know someone did that again with The Hobbit.
Yes, yeah.
They called it The Hobbit, the Tolkien edition, where they cut out all the stuff they added that wasn't in the book and just made it about the dwarves and Bilbo trying to take back Erebor. But I think they've taken it down now because of copyright reasons.
Yeah, that's the thing. Fan edits are a bit. Because I've been toying with making a few of them of various films, and I'm always like, well, where do I actually put them once I'm done? Because there's not really, you can't actually show it to anyone really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame he doesn't have much to do in this, Ian McDiarmid, but
Yeah,
obviously when we get to Sith, he completely goes for it.
for sure. And I really like that bit of him like tapping Anakin on the shoulder and say, "Oh, well, what's your career?" with great interest, because that's kind of like, oh, he's already like eyeing him up for
Yeah.
it's really kind of foreboding.
Mm-hmm.
I like a bit of the Imperial March as well. You can hear it in the end of this.
Yeah, you can.
Really
I
cool.
think at the end credits, you can hear Darth Vader's breath, and
Yes.
even on teaser posters, you had a picture of Anakin leaving Tatooine, and the shadow was like the shadow of Darth Vader.
Yeah, I love that poster. It's such a cool poster.
And is it weird that in this scene, the one giving the most emotion is the droid? What will happen to me now? You'll turn into Hayden Christensen and you'll never work again in the industry. Well... Yeah, because again, I mean, going back to Topher Grace's edit, you can see why he starts at the end of this film, because only two things have been accomplished, and that's Anakin meeting Obi-Wan and Palpatine becoming Chancellor, which is one step closer to him gaining an empire, and that's it.
Well, you totally could, because I believe I've not seen that edit in full, because I believe it's quite hard to find. I think he's only shown it to a few of his friends, and it was online very briefly, but I believe the crawl opens with just explaining everything up to this point. It's just like the Jedi are in they've met this boy, they've done this with the Queen and stuff, and that's the crawl, and that makes perfect sense. I also love that this music, the celebration music, is the Emperor's theme from Return of the Jedi, just sped up and in a different key.
Yeah, because his theme is the
yeah,
yeah,
and it's the same tune, just arranged differently, and I always thought that was such a cool detail.
Also, why did Anakin have his hair cut here? Is it against the Jedi code for Padawans to have long hair?
It's probably so he could have his Padawan braids put in.
Oh yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
Just reminds me of that festival in The Simpsons where Homer comes back from space and they're like, "What's that? It's an inanimate carbon rod." And the whole festival's based on that and not Homer. That's what it should be about. What's that? It's a glowing sphere. Let's celebrate it.
What even is it? It's just like a plasma ball.
Yeah, and he just holds it up and goes, "Boosh!" Like, yeah, but what does that symbolize? And that's the Phantom Menace.
Yay! Written and directed by George Lucas, produced by Rick McCallum. Oh god, Rick McCallum. Yeah, he was insane in interviews. He was hilarious. If you've ever seen a Rick McCallum interview, oh god.
Well, there's that. Every shot has a digital effect.
It's so
in it.
dense. It's so dense. Like he's halfway through answering a question and he's rambling on about something, and he just goes, "I cannot for the life of me remember what you just asked me." It's just...
Oh yeah, Liam Neeson has got top billing here.
Yep.
So I suppose Qui-Gon was the main character.
You would think so. Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman.
McGregor, it's Scottish for bullseye.
Are there any funny names in the credits of this, I wonder?
I don't know.
Oliver Ford Davies, that's the guy I was thinking of earlier, the one who I saw in Goodnight, Mr. Tom.
Oh, Terence Stamp gets his own as credit. Yeah, overall, Phantom Menace, I'd say probably one of the biggest disappointments in film history, but is it one of the worst films ever made? Nah, it's just not very good.
I can still watch it easily, you know. I still, I can put it on. It's fun. Is it fun? It's fun in parts. There are good things in it. I don't even know. I like it. I don't hate any of the prequels.
Yeah, I'll say this about every Star Wars film: they at least have something to offer, and this does have the John Williams score and the kick-ass lightsaber duel.
Oh god, Jabba the Hutt is credited as himself.
Yeah, that's true. Heck, for the for A New Hope, when they added him in, I've looked it up. Apparently, it's an unknown who did the the Hutt voice.
Oh,
I'm like, god. Okay.
Well, did you notice that the voice of Newt Gunray? I always forget this was Silas Carson, who is the Ood in Doctor Who. I always forget that.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, I recognise a lot of these names from like the Harry Potter films, so I think it was actually a lot of the crew were English. So it might have been shot in England.
Could have been, yeah.
Like Nick Dudman was the creature effects guy on Harry Potter, and
did John? Oh, thanks to all the UK construction crew.
Oh yeah, there we go. So I guess it was then.
I wonder, did John Dykstra work on this, or did he only do the original trilogy?
I don't think so. I've not seen his name yet.
Because obviously he did. I know he did Batman Forever, and I know obviously he went on to do Spider-Man.
Oh, I was going to say he might have been in the early stages of working on Spider-Man at this. Actually, no, it would have been a bit too early. But actually, because I know Lord of the Rings was filming in 1999, wasn't it? It started filming then.
Yeah, it was 99 to 2000.
Yeah. And then the films were released, obviously, subsequent to that. But it gives you good, like, when you watch the documentaries on this as well, it gives you a good idea of how many people were involved in making this. Like, this was such an enormous production. And it's why I don't necessarily believe in, like, dismissing it entirely. Like, going, oh, it's the worst thing ever. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
All these people worked really hard on it, and I mean, you could say that for any film, but like it really, the amount of effort that goes into the creature effects in this, and the CGI at the time, and it was such an undertaking, and it is fascinating. It's an absolutely fascinating case study of when the hype goes so high and then crashes down.
Yeah, I know, because going back to Game of Thrones, there was that petition to remake the last season.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't like the last season, but I think one of the actors said it's completely rude to say that because you may be dismissing the writers, but you're also dismissing the hard work that
everyone puts
crew
into
member and cast member put in, and yeah,
absolutely. And it's
because obviously, I mean, obviously, it is open to criticism like any piece of media is.
Oh yeah,
and of
for
course
sure.
you can say, here's what I do to make it better, or change the story. But yeah, well, it happened with The Last Jedi, because wasn't there that stupid petition to remake it?
Yeah, there was.
I freaking love Rian Johnson and his
Same.
attitude towards those stupid fans, because I know so many people say, oh, he insults the fans. No, he doesn't. He insults morons.
He insults the twats who were like harassing Kelly Marie Tran. And, yeah. But yeah,
He's got the perfect IDG AF attitude.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I don't know if you noticed that the novel by Del Rey. Rey spelt as in R-E-Y. Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
Released by 20th Century Fox. Well, not now.
No. Yeah, I'm surprised that the Fox logo is still there at the start.
Well, I think that was it when Disney bought Fox. They wanted to align all the logos, because there was a brief time where like the digital versions would open with like their custom logo, and it was just awful. But yeah, that was the first installment of our Star Wars commentary, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. I hope you enjoyed sticking around with us, discussing this very fascinating piece of film history for many reasons. Next time we will of course be tackling Attack of the Clones, so make sure to avoid
I'm haunted
sand.
by the kiss you should never have given me.
I wish that I could just wish away my feelings, but I can't. We'll get there next week anyway. In the meantime, go and subscribe to Isaac's channel, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.